Welcome back to Mass Appeal. This holiday season, add some personal touches to your gifts and to your gift table.
Joining us now is Tess Poe. She's the owner of Beehive Sewing in Northampton with tips on how to spruce up our wine bottles when we go to a party.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tess.
Great.
So it's very common to want to bring some wine, bring a beverage to a holiday party. Often we're going to run and get it last minute right when we're on our way to a party.
Oh, yeah.
I'm guilty of it too. So a great way to personalize your gift of wine is to make some personalized wine bags. So I'm going to show you a really quick and easy pattern that I developed to make a wine bag. You can go ahead and personalize it with some of the decorative stitches on a regular sewing machine.
So it's on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest thing in the world to sew, how are we doing with wine bags?
3.
I can do 3. I can do a 3. Okay.
We're going to find out in a minute.
So time will tell if I can do a 3.
So let's have a look at our pattern right here. Our pattern is really just a big rectangle. So I've made some pattern marks on here. It's a rectangle that we're going to fold in half. We're going to hem it at the top first, and we're going to do something called French seaming, which sounds scary, but it really isn't. It's just an inside-out seam. So we're going to start with our rectangle, and the first thing we're going to do is fold down the top of our fabric. I'm using some reused drapery fabric. That's a really good way to sort of recycle some things.
So pretty.
The next thing that we're going to do after we do a little hem across the top here is we're just going to fold our bag in half and stitch it. Now this is the part that's sort of counterintuitive or doesn't make a lot of sense when we're talking about sewing, because normally when we sew, the right sides of our fabric are together. With a French seam, we're going to sew so that the outside of the fabric is showing. And about 12 inches up from the bottom, I've attached this gold ribbon. And that's what's going to be used to tie your bag closed.
Did you attach that with thread too?
I did. All I did for this was just do a seam right down here and right across the bottom.
Okay.
That's it. So our pattern is really a big rectangle. We've just folded it in half.
So easy.
And then what we do with our French seam to really kind of enclose that seam is we flip the bag inside out and we just repeat what we did. So that when we open it up, and you'll see this if you look at some of your reusable grocery bags or you look at some of the things that you have at home, you'll see that we have a totally encased seam, a really nice finished look in a really quick way.
And that's not going to break apart.
And that's not going to break apart. It's going to hold a bottle of wine, a bottle of champagne. There are a lot of nice juices out there that come in a wine bottle.
Sparkling grape juice.
Sparkling grape
Exactly.
juice.
The great thing about a pattern like this, because it's so simple, is that you can really get fancy at the hem. So this is a sample. I'm going to switch spots with you so you can use the machine.
Oh, I have to use it. Ashley, are you sure you don't want to use
I'm
it?
positive.
So
right.
on this hem, what we did on one of our samples here is use a decorative stitch on the machine, just right along that hem line. So we're going to throw this in the machine. We have a special satin stitch foot in the machine right now. And you can go ahead and just
I press the pedal, right?
Pedal to the metal.
Let's do this. No, do I have to hold it?
Well, we're team sewing, so I'm doing some holding for you.
So I thought you said you wanted to get a sewing machine.
I do,
you knew how to use
just
it.
to hem my clothing because I'm cheap. Now, do we have to push in this?
We don't. On new sewing machines like this, you don't have to feed the fabric through like a paper shredder. You don't have to pull it from the back. So you can stop there. We can have a look at what your stitching is like. And this is just...
Oh, this makes fancy stitching easy. Look at this.
Right. So this is just a nice little decorative stitch. It comes standard on the machine, and it's a little row of stars. Again, people will think that you went and got that at Pottery Barn, Crate and Barrel, one of the higher end stores.
So this is standard on a nicer sewing machine?
Even some of the basic machines are going to have some decorative stitches on them. So even some of the machines that are not computerized are going to have some of those decorative stitches.
Oh, and I see on the back.
Cute.
Do you mind if I show off the back?
Yep.
So on the back of this machine, they have the guide that shows all the decorative stitches you can do.
And we have a couple of samples over here that I'll swing over so that you can see. What you can do is make yourself a little stitch guide, and then you sort of have a record of all the stitches that you can do on your machine. You can always go back and double check and see what you'd like to do.
So like on the top of that bag there is you used a darker thread?
I did. So on this one we used a navy blue thread, and I want to talk about thread for just a minute because you can certainly use an all-purpose thread, but I have a few samples of thread over here that are a little bit different. One of them is an embroidery thread. So this embroidery thread, you can get this at a discount store. You can get it at one of the major fabric retailers. It's got a little bit of shininess to it, so it really kind of makes that decorative stitching pop, and again, makes it look so nice.
I was going to say, it's amazing how just that little change can make a pretty big difference. And look at this.
It's true, and this is, even for a beginner sewer, this is maybe a 20-minute project. So you can make 4 or 5 of these, keep them in the car when you're running to a party and you have to run and grab a beverage, throw it in there. You can tie a gift tag to it, whatever you'd like. It's a really easy way to kind of spice something up, and it's reusable, so folks can re-gift it, no guilt. Exactly.
And then even if it's not the holidays, if you make it more of a not
like
seasonal.
a neutral bag, like this one. Yeah,
neutral.
Exactly. Well, if we have some time, we can go ahead and make this one if you'd like.
Well, how about we make it during the commercial break?
Perfect.
And
We'll be
also,
back.
don't go anywhere because we're not done with the wine paraphernalia. We're going to make
That's right.
coasters for your glasses and wine a little bit later in the show.
Make your own wine bags, but what about something cute to put onto your wine glasses?
Right? Everybody needs one of those. Well, we're back with Tess Poe from Beehive Sewing in Northampton, and we're making coasters now. Because ditch the dreary. We got some fun coasters.
That's right.
And it can tell a story.
Well, sometimes you have to be an overachiever, and bringing a wine bag is not enough.
It's not
So
enough.
a set of coasters puts it over the top.
If you bring both.
And matches the wine bag. I mean,
Correct.
come on.
Exactly. So one of the best things a coaster can do for you is absorb liquid. So it should be made of something that's absorbent. So I have a couple of samples here that I want to show you, and then we're going to go ahead and make one. The first one that matched our wine bag over there is quilted. So it's home decor fabric with either a muslin or a twill backing, and we've gone ahead and we've put some batting in the middle of it. So this is our batting. We've gone ahead and we've just quilted it. The other thing that we can do, and the thing I really like, is making a coaster that's basically fabric covered cork. So if I take this out, you'll see this is just 1/4 inch thick cork that you can buy at an office supply store, wherever. Cut it to size. One of the tricks that we use, a sewing tool that we can use to cut things to size, is a little template like this.
Just like that.
Knocking everything over here. A little 4.5 inch square template. So that's a great size if you don't want to deal with rulers and measuring and all that. Find anything that you can trace.
And then just take something like an X-Acto knife and...
I actually used a pair of scissors. I just used a pair of good craft scissors and cut right through the cork. It's not very thick, but it's thick enough to be a coaster. This will give it a little bit of structure. So we're basically making like a little pillowcase for our piece of cork. And again, it's going to give it a lot of nice structure. So let's have a look at what our pattern is. It's not much of a pattern. Again, it's just
a
big
rectangle.
rectangle.
Okay.
And
Easy enough.
we don't even have to worry about specific measurements. We're just worrying about the relative size. So as long as your piece of cork fits, that's fine.
If you can hold a wine glass bottom, then you're good to go.
Right. So just like on our wine bags, the first thing we're going to do is hem the raw edges. So we're going to do a double fold hem, and I just folded it over and then did a single row of stitching. On this edge, I have it folded over and pinned, so I'm going to go ahead and finish that. But one of the things that's going to make life a lot easier when we do that row of stitching is something called a gauge. And this little gauge will help us make sure that we have a nice, in this case, 1/4 inch hem. And that's just a really lovely way to do it. The other thing that we can do if we wanted to quilt this, and we're going to go ahead again and have either Ashley or Seth go ahead and quilt
Ashley
it.
do it this time.
Nice.
I'll try.
We're just going to fold this in half. We're going to put some batting in the middle, and we're going to quilt it, and then we're going to trim it and just do a nice zigzag stitch on the edge. So in some of the samples over there, you'll see that we just did a nice zigzag stitch, like a satin stitch. And quilting, a lot of people think quilting is kind of scary, and it means a big queen-size blanket made of 400 little
The
triangles.
word quilting is very intimidating to me.
I'm
Definitely.
terrified right now of this.
All quilting is making a sandwich of batting with 2 pieces of fabric on top and on the bottom and stitching them together. So we're not doing any piecing. We're not cutting out little bits of fabric and stitching them together first. We're just stitching through and making this nice absorbent sort of puffy thing that looks really beautiful especially when you use some special stitches on it. So let's go ahead. We'll have you do some
Come on over,
stitching
Ashley.
over here.
I'm going to watch from afar.
And you can do a simple square. You can do some straight lines, whatever you'd
All
like.
right, go to it.
You need to
Go
push
to
the
it.
pedal. There's a
No, I
pedal
know.
down
I
there.
want to make
Okay.
sure it's in the right place.
It is.
I know I
sure
get to push the
is.
pedal. Oh, whoa. Full speed ahead.
And if we want to change direction, we'll just pause what we're doing.
Are we lifting up the foot?
We'll lift up the presser foot. We'll change direction, put that foot down again. Team sewing. I
Pivot.
love sewing with you guys.
This is
Pivot.
Pivot.
And let's do that again.
Whoa.
Let's pivot.
Team sewing. Okay. Oh, so this is quilting.
This is
So
quilting.
this is what
Well,
quilting
sandwich.
looks like.
That's
This is
speaking
the
my
quilt
language.
sandwich. And let's
Okay.
pivot again. And then you have a nice little square. We'll take that out of the machine. And
Are you sure it's nice? Or are you just saying
I have to
that it's
admit,
nice?
I'm impressed how easy this is. Because for me, I'm not much of a sewer, and now I think that I could pull something like this off.
You absolutely could. So we did something that's a little bit of an asymmetrical rectangle
It's
here.
got some character.
It's got character.
Got a whole
That's a
lot
nice
of
way of saying
character.
you need practice, actually.
No, that's a great way of saying that you're so full of creativity.
You can do a lot with
looks awesome.
asymmetry, and then we're just going to trim this up. We can do a nice little zigzag stitch on the edge. You might go around it 2 or 3 times just to make it look really finished. And then you have a coaster that's going to absorb the liquid that's coming off of your glasses. You can make 5, 6, 8 of them in a little set.
Now, Tess, how do you make sure that the batting doesn't stick out from the top?
Well, once we trim it down, when we use that satin stitch, and I'm going to grab this sample here and just have you have a little look at this. What we've done is a satin stitch is a zigzag that we've gone over several times. It almost looks like a buttonhole. So it's really wrapping around that edge of the fabric, and it's making sure that nothing is going to be sticking out.
So you're good to go.
So that's it. You're
And
good to
these
go.
are the kind of coasters you don't want to put in the drawer. You want to leave them out on your table because they're so cute.
That's right. That's right.
So they're kind of like decoration.
They are. So on this one,
So this one's pretty much, that's the blanket, or the pillow.
the little kind of cork pillowcase, you can certainly go ahead, once your cork is in there, you can go ahead and kind of seal that up so that it's permanent, and then you have a nice, firm set of coasters here. I like to leave them open because somebody may spill red wine, somebody may drop cheese dip on it. You want to be able to take them off and throw them in the wash. So you can go ahead and do that. The other thing I want to point out is that, again, we're using reused drapery fabric here. What I've done is something called fussy cutting. So I've selected the part of that fabric that has a design or something on it that I really like and I want
That's
to
a good
highlight.
idea.
So a quick example over here on the left are some vintage table linens that are really fun for the holidays, have some nice Thanksgiving feels. You can go ahead and pull out the designs that you like and make a smaller set of coasters that go along with a wine bag or go along with some
So it's
napkins.
okay to be fussy in this case.
It's okay to be fussy. It's easy to find table linens that are really nice vintage but maybe don't fit your table. So this is a great way to reuse them, give a really personalized gift.
I like that.
Your
That's
$10 bottle of wine looks really nice when it's in a wine bag with a set of coasters.
So let's recap. So we made the wine bag here, and then we have the matching coaster set right here. Pretty cool.
And
Yeah.
anyone can do it.
Anyone can
So
do it.
easy.
On a regular, simple sewing machine. Don't need a lot of tools, don't need a lot of extra experience, just a little bit of forethought and a little bit of creativity.
I
Tess,
love it.
I
Thanks
love
so
it.
much, Tess. and
Thank
it's
you.
reusing what you already have, which is a good thing too. Thank you so
Exactly.
much.